Alright guys, today's video is the main food plot update. I'm going to go over a few additional tips to help you out in some of these situations I'm seeing here. But we're going to start off on a positive note here and continue to be positive throughout the whole video. Chestnut tree is absolutely doing well, and now it's fixing to start pollinating. See the little tiny, looks like hairs or little short fuzzy stems sticking out, kind of like a fungus. That sucker's getting ready to pollinate. And now that the females are more pronounced, come on camera, you can focus. There you go. Good looking female flowers, and they are all over the tree. But look at this. By far the best germination rates I've ever seen here. We have green all the way down, and then we have these little pockets right here. Now granted, I would say 90% of this has already come up. I'm still finding new sprouts even in this area, and a couple of these little splotchy spots here to where the soybean is still sprouting. But in this situation, this is why I love giving out this tip. Have more seed than what's needed, because if you had sown this as is and there's no additional seed, you're stuck with this, and that's going to encourage weed growth, and you'll probably end up having to spray that out if you're trying to keep your plot maintained to a certain extent, or if you're very limited on space. These bigger gaps become very important versus a plot that, you know, maybe the size of this field where it really won't matter. But these smaller plots, to me, it's important to go back and reseed any thin area you're finding. So I've already done this. There's new seed in the ground, and hopefully in the next 7 days or so, there's going to be several new sprouts coming up right there. And in my opinion right here, this is not a soil problem. I think what happened was I got a little lazy here and got the tiller too deep. This is the drawback if you're not paying attention and you let that tiller sink down just a bit more than what you thought. You may have actually buried some of this seed too deep, and it died trying to germinate. But when you're looking at it from above, you're thinking, I've got maybe bad ground or something right there, maybe bad seed. And when you till it in like I do, if you're not careful, especially when I pull that lever, if I'm off just a little bit, that means it might go an extra ½ inch to an inch deeper than what I want it, because I wasn't paying attention. So likely that's what's happened right here, and the same goes right here. I think I got a little too deep, but that's okay. Reseeded and ready to go. I set out some more peanuts, but the soybean is absolutely looking fantastic. And this is one of the things that I do, at least for myself, when it comes to monitoring my soil's health. I look at not only how quickly things have germinated, but the size that the plants get when they're in their early development stages. So for instance, I had soybean all over the place that had full-size feeder leaves that were this big. That's really tiny. That needs to be a lot better. Versus soybean leaves, feeder leaves this big. These are not the true leaves yet, but these guys are showing tremendous growing potential right now that I've never seen this consistent across the plot. Right here's the test strip plot, and it's actually doing very well. There's volunteer cowpeas that have come all the way up into here now, so I'm going to have to kind of watch that. I don't want cowpeas overtaking everything, which they will do if you're not careful. I can easily spray them out and kill them because they're not spray resistant. At least the version I bought is not. so that way I can keep them under control and keep other parts of the plot in check. Here's some buckwheat that I did not till down. Volunteer seed. It's already starting to look pretty promising here. And this is year 1 restored ground. This is not completely restored soil here. But look at the size of these feeder leaves. This looks so much better than what I had here last year. Already showing tremendous improvement. I think you're going to see much better sunflower growth here. Matter of fact, I think you're going to see everything look a lot bigger here, because it is absolutely coming alive. Even my sun hemp had a rough start last year. Look at that buckwheat plant right there. Already really thick and healthy looking. This is the type of plot I want. I need fast fill in right here. So these deer, when they start hitting this, there's so much of it here that it will have a better shot of surviving. I mean, these bean plants, whether it's mung bean or cereal rye, or not, I'm sorry, not cereal rye, but soybean, had thought somewhere else. Here's a black oil sunflower. So it's looking very positive. These guys here look much better than last year. And there's one seed still trying to sprout. So we'll give him a chance. We'll just stick him right there. Now down here, this is where the mat got a lot thicker. So if you're worried about the mat being really thick, if the mat is a method that you choose to do, I'll go ahead and show you down here. Have no fear of that mat. I still see all kinds of soybean sprouting in here. It's not leafed out yet, but it's getting there. Much better start. All right, so we're down here where the mat gets really thick. And see all that green sticking up through it now. Fantastic. This has not slowed down anything really. Now granted, it might look, you know, a little lankier as it's coming out through this mat because it's kind of fluffed up a bit, but as long as it can get to the sunlight, things are going to look really good. There's another one fighting to get out right there. This mat is still getting thicker as far as germination growth rates here. And I've had actually a pretty good kill off as far as the fall and winter blends. There are a few re-sprouts here, and this is one thing I've noticed. These re-sprouts generally don't have a lot of energy behind them, and if it does produce a seed head, it is like very minimal for the most part. So a lot of this greenery that's here will be future rotting material here before long. So that's okay, because I'm not going to spray it out right now because I don't need to. If you saw, you know, little green stems sticking up like that, I wouldn't panic. Just kind of wait and see what happens. But I tend to find that the rye and the oats, all those plants that stemmed out, are very weak in their returns if you wait toward the seed making process, and they generally don't do well after that. The groundhog hole is here. I've seen no evidence of him eating anything, so I'm going to give him a few more neighborly rocks here and bury them suckers. But everywhere in here, now granted there's a few weak spots just like in the other parts of the plot, and I've already put new seed down in some of these thinner areas here. And with a mat this thick, I don't go back and till whenever I'm re-sowing. I just simply allow it to fall down between the rotting mat, and it generally comes up. You'll have some that won't, but usually have a pretty good return rate on them. But this is looking fantastic. Another smaller thin area here, but soybeans still fighting to come up, and this will leaf out very quickly. Another 7 to 10 days, this will look totally different, unless groundhogs really make a nasty mess out of this, which I'm watching like crazy. Over here, this is where I sowed buckwheat, sun hemp, and deer vetch. All of this is looking very promising. The deer vetch is slower to germinate, so you'll have to give it a little more time. So I'm kind of waiting to see how successful the deer vetch is going to be here. But I already see buckwheat and sun hemp sprouting up all through that. And in my opinion, if you're going to do deer vetch, it needs a companion crop to go with it to help it along until it starts growing fast. It's not a fast growing plant initially. And I'll do that, I'll reiterate that in a pro and con video on deer vetch. Now over here, this is where I sowed that 10 to 12 foot wide manager's mix, not gamekeeper, manager's mix in here, and sunflowers, sun hemp, and buckwheat. Looking extremely well. I know the camera's not picking up on all this greenery here, but visually where I'm standing, it looks great. Once I get closer to it, you know, it's easier to see it then. But overall, this looks great. Super strong start this year. Plus, I've had plenty of rain. Rain has not been an issue at all, and this ground keeps absorbing more moisture. Ah, here we go. Look at this. There's a good crop of deer vetch coming right up through that mat. That looks great. So I think the deer vetch is going to beat most of this mat. There's some places that are a little bit thicker than this, and that's going to be a real test. But look here, deer vetch. That stuff grows in low light, and that's why I went ahead and sowed it as a risk crop with this type of mat. Now over here I've got those Mongolian sunflowers that are up. I have spotted them all through here. Let me get across this side. There's one of them right there. Nice Mongolian. I've also got a touch of Milo coming in here. Another sunflower. I forgot I put a little bit of Milo in here. Sunflower, sunflower. I've got them scattered all up and down through here, so it's looking really promising. So anytime that you've got a food plot to where you're sowing, that's actually better looking than you think. There's more mat up there, which is covering up more of those sprouts. But if you feel that's thin, that's where your extra seed comes into play. And there is a little bit of extra seed on this end. I put about another 3 or 4 handfuls of it out up there. That should help fill that in quite a bit better. But there's all kinds of younger sprouts in here that are a little bit late to the party. So I figure another 5 to 6 days, this initial wave that I've set out should be up and going. And then the next wave of seed hits that I've re-sown in here, and then it should carpet out after that. That's the goal. But more sunflowers, lots of soybean in here, lots of soybean. Any day now, these deer are going to start hitting this. It's coming. Once these first feeder leaves kick out, deer will start hammering soybean. And the good thing about this one is this is one of the reasons why I picked soybean developed for deer, is when deer browse, and let's say they cut this thing off and you're reduced to this little piece down here, it's actually going to sprout back and grow again. Other soybean may not survive that, your typical farm growing soybeans. So that's why I picked plants designed to be browsed on by deer. And heck, if you had a a cattle farm, you could let this grow really tall and let them come in, and they would have all the food they need by rotation. But there you go, guys. Small plot, or main, I'm sorry, not small, main food plot update. It is looking fantastic this year, and I think we are golden for the production this crop is going to make this year. And thanks to this rotting mat, every year things are going to get better and better. And this area's second mat, and by far the thickest mat that I have ever put on this place right here. And there's a big difference between how I'm handling this section, which is section 4, this little squared off area here, versus over here. I'm only tilling down once a year, and this area I'm tilling down material twice a year to give it multiple mats. And I think that will help further along my soil restoring. So if I can get it faster than 6 years here, then that's a fantastic thing to think about if you're in a hurry trying to speed things up. And maybe doing 2 mats a year might be beneficial to you. It may or may not. That's up to you if you want to try that. All right, guys, so that's the update here. The island is looking good as well. I found a handful of sprouts just beginning, and I will provide a new update for that place once it gets going. But all this right here, I found sprouts within the first 5 days of planting. All right, guys, have a good one.